American Graffiti's yellow 1932 Ford was not just a car. It was the beating heart of George Lucas's breakout film, a character as complex and compelling as any human on screen. What audiences saw was a gleaming hot rod cruising the strip. What they did not see was the mechanical nightmare, the desperate last-minute paint job, and the chain of ownership disputes that nearly derailed the entire production. Today, I am breaking down 15 weird facts about American Graffiti's legendary 1932 Ford Deuce Coupe that will forever change how you see this cinematic icon. And stick around for our bonus fact, the shocking revelation about where this historic vehicle ended up that even dedicated film historians got wrong for decades. Number 15. Harrison Ford crashed the car during an unfilmed joyride. Before Harrison Ford became Han Solo or Indiana Jones, he was Bob Falfa in American Graffiti, and he nearly got fired after an unauthorized joyride in the Deuce Coupe ended in disaster. During a production break, Ford convinced a crew member to let him take the main hero car out just around the block. What was supposed to be a quick spin turned into a 40-minute disappearance that sent the production into panic mode. When Ford finally returned, the car had a damaged front fender and a broken headlight. Lucas was furious not just about the damage but because the incident threatened his already tight shooting schedule and strained relationship with the car's protective owner. Ford narrowly avoided termination by paying for the repairs out of his own pocket and working overnight with the transportation team to fix the damage. The repaired headlight is actually visible in the film. It is slightly different from its partner. Watch the early drive-in scenes compared to later sequences, and you will notice the right headlight changes in appearance midway through the movie. Number 14. The pinstriping was done by Von Dutch legendary hot rod artist The Fang. Subtle, yet distinctive yellow pinstriping on the Deuce Coupe was hand-painted by none other than Von Dutch-born Kenneth Howard, the legendary artist who revolutionized custom car culture with his distinctive detailing work. Von Dutch was not officially hired by the production. He was brought in as a personal favor to the car's owner after the original pinstriping was damaged during transport to the set. Working overnight in a makeshift garage set up near location, Von Dutch hand-painted his signature fine lines using a series of special squirrel hair brushes he had made himself. What most viewers do not realize is that Von Dutch subtly incorporated his trademark flying eyeball design into the pinstriping. It is hidden in the decorative flourish near the rear wheel well. This tiny detail was not in the original design and was not noticed by Lucas until after filming was completed. Von Dutch refused payment for his work, asking instead for a fifth of whiskey and the promise that his name would appear in the credits. While he got the whiskey, his credit was ultimately left off the final film, an oversight Lucas reportedly regretted years later. Number 13. The studio wanted to replace the car with a newer model. Universal executives nearly derailed the authentic period feel of American Graffiti when they pushed to replace the 1932 Deuce Coupe with a newer, more marketable car from the 1960s. Studio notes from early production meetings reveal that marketing executives wanted to feature a 1965 Mustang or 1967 Camaro cars that were new and popular at the time of filming but completely wrong for the film's 1962 setting. Their reasoning? Potential tie-in opportunities with Ford or Chevrolet could help finance the struggling production. Lucas fought back fiercely, producing photographs of authentic early 60s cruising culture and bringing in car club veterans to educate the executives. In one heated meeting, he reportedly threatened to walk off the project entirely if forced to use anachronistic vehicles, stating, "The cars are not props in this film, they are characters." This battle over automotive authenticity became symbolic of Lucas's larger struggles with Universal, who consistently underestimated the young director's vision. The Deuce Coupe's preservation in the film represents one of Lucas's first major victories over studio interference, a pattern that would define his later career. Number 12. The car's dashboard hides secret messages. Look closely at the dashboard of Milner's Deuce Coupe during interior shots, and you will spot something unusual: tiny handwritten notes and symbols hidden among the gauges and controls. These were not random set dressing. The car's real-life owner and members of the production design team secretly inscribed personal messages, lucky charms, and inside jokes throughout the vehicle's interior. Most noticeable is a small GL Heart MW scratched into the dashboard, a reference to George Lucas and his then-wife Marcia. Other hidden elements include production dates, crew members' initials, and even a tiny caricature of Francis Ford Coppola, who was a producer on the film, drawn on the underside of the glove compartment. The art department created this lived-in quality to reflect how real hot rodders would personalize their prized vehicles. These details were never meant to be clearly visible on screen. They were added as a form of cinematic good luck charm. However, when the Blu-ray remaster was released decades later, these previously invisible elements suddenly became clear enough for eagle-eyed viewers to spot. Number 11. The car had to be completely rebuilt. Halfway through filming, catastrophe struck midway through production when the main Deuce Coupe suffered a devastating mechanical failure. The engine block cracked during one of the more intense driving scenes. This was not just a simple repair job. The damage was so severe that the entire engine needed replacement, and the timeline was impossible. The car was scheduled for critical scenes the very next day. What followed was an all-night mechanical marathon that film historians have dubbed the Modesto Miracle. The transportation team, along with local hot rod enthusiasts who had been hanging around the set, worked through the night in a gas station that had been dressed as a set. They not only replaced the engine but took the opportunity to upgrade several other mechanical components that had been causing problems. Working with parts scavenged from junkyards and borrowed from private collections, they managed to get the car running better than before. When Lucas arrived on set the next morning, the car was in place, engine running though. If you listen carefully, during scenes filmed after this incident, you can hear subtle differences in the engine sound that even the post-production team could not completely mask. Number 10. The car was not actually that fast in real life. Go ahead and like and subscribe because I am about to shatter one of American graffiti's biggest myths. Milner's fastest thing in the valley was not actually that fast in real life. Not even close. The Deuce Coupe looked impressive and sounded powerful thanks to sound effects, but the actual performance was mediocre at best. During filming of the Paradise Road race sequence, the crew discovered that the car struggled to exceed 75 miles per hour, hardly the stuff of drag racing legends. For shots requiring speed, they employed clever camera techniques, filming at slightly slower frame rates to create the illusion of increased velocity when played back at normal speed. For point of view, shots suggesting extreme speed, the camera car was actually a modified Porsche 911 with a camera mount. The production team also built subtle downward slopes into their racing locations, allowing gravity to add perceived acceleration. In wide shots, they used undercranked cameras, a technique where fewer frames per second are captured, making movement appear faster when played back at normal speed. The illusion was so effective that after the film's release, hot rod enthusiasts spent years trying to recreate the supposedly remarkable performance of Milner's car, not realizing they were chasing a cinematic sleight of hand. Number 9. The original Deuce Coupe was stolen after production wrapped. In a twist worthy of a movie itself, the primary Deuce Coupe disappeared just weeks after filming completed. The car's owner had taken it to a car show in San Bernardino to capitalize on the upcoming film's publicity when it vanished from the hotel parking lot. A police investigation turned up nothing. Universal Studios, concerned about negative publicity, kept the theft quiet. For almost 7 months, the car's whereabouts remained a complete mystery, leading many to assume it had been stripped for parts or shipped overseas. Then came the strange anonymous call. The film's transportation coordinator received a tip directing him to an abandoned drive-in theater outside Bakersfield. There sat the Deuce Coupe, undamaged, with a full tank of gas and with precisely 1,973 additional miles on the odometer, seemingly a reference to the film's release year. More bizarre still was what investigators found inside a Polaroid photograph of the car parked in front of landmarks across California, and a handwritten note that simply read, "Thanks for the memories." The car thief was never identified, though rumors persisted that it was actually a publicity stunt orchestrated by Universal's marketing department, a claim the studio has always denied. Number 8. Richard Dreyfuss could not fit inside the car. Richard Dreyfuss, who played Kurt Henderson, had a peculiar problem during production. He could not comfortably fit inside the Deuce Coupe despite multiple scenes requiring him to be a passenger. The 1932 Ford was built for a different era when people were generally smaller. Dreyfuss, while not particularly tall, had broad shoulders that made fitting into the narrow passenger space alongside Paul Le Mat nearly impossible. The issue was so problematic that Lucas considered rewriting scenes to keep Dreyfuss out of the car. Instead, the production team created a cheater. They removed the passenger side door panel and created a hollow space that extended beyond the car's normal dimensions. For wide shots, they used a slimmer body double. For close-ups, they employed carefully framed camera angles that hid the modification. In one scene where both actors needed to be clearly visible in the car together, they actually cut a hole in the floor and had Dreyfuss sitting several inches lower than normal, a trick that is visible if you pay close attention to the unnatural difference in their seated heights. Lucas later joked that the tight quarters contributed to the authentic tension between the characters, as the actors were genuinely uncomfortable and irritated while filming those scenes. Number 7. The distinctive exhaust flames were created with military equipment. The dramatic blue flames shooting from the Deuce Coupe's exhaust pipes during racing scenes were not standard hot rod equipment. They were created using modified military flamethrower components sourced through Francis Ford Coppola's connections from Apocalypse Now pre-production. Creating consistent photogenic exhaust flames proved surprisingly difficult. Early attempts using modified spark plugs and excess fuel produced underwhelming results, either too small to register on camera or dangerously large and uncontrollable. The solution came from a Vietnam veteran working in the special effects department who suggested adapting miniature flamethrower technology. The system they developed used a controlled propellant mixture that could be activated by the driver or triggered remotely by effects technicians. The distinctive blue color, not the typical orange of natural exhaust flames, was achieved by adding chemical compounds similar to those used in professional fireworks displays. Safety concerns were so significant that special heat shields were installed to protect the car's paint and components. Despite these precautions, the heat damaged portions of the exhaust system, requiring regular replacements throughout the shoot. The California Film Commission later cited these modified flame effects when creating new regulations for automotive stunts in film production. Number 6. George Lucas could not drive the car he made famous. In a perfect encapsulation of American Graffiti's behind-the-scenes ironies, director George Lucas, the man who made the 1932 Deuce Coupe a cultural icon, could not actually drive the car himself. Lucas not only lacked the skills to handle the temperamental hot rod with its heavy clutch and high-strung engine, but he also suffered from acute motion sickness that made riding in the vehicle nearly impossible. Throughout filming, Lucas had to direct the cruising scenes by providing instructions before the drives and reviewing footage afterward. For scenes requiring specific timing or coordination, Lucas communicated with the drivers via walkie-talkie from stationary positions. When absolutely necessary for him to be mobile, he followed in a separate, smoother riding vehicle with less nauseating movement characteristics. This disconnect created occasional tensions on set, with car owner Frank Jimenez once exclaiming in frustration, "How can someone who gets carsick make a movie about cars?" Lucas's response became something of a production mantra: "You don't have to be able to fly to make a film about pilots." The director's separation from the physical experience of the cruising culture he was documenting ultimately influenced the film's somewhat dreamy, nostalgic perspective, capturing the era through the lens of memory rather than present experience. Number 5. The car was secretly modified against historical accuracy. While Lucas fought for period authenticity, the Deuce Coupe harbored several anachronistic modifications that would have been impossible in 1962, changes made for practical filming needs rather than historical accuracy. Most significantly, the main vehicle was fitted with a modern for 1973 Chevrolet 350 engine, rather than the period-correct power plant a real hot rodder would have used in 1962. The transmission was a modern Muncie 4-speed with synchronized gears technology that was not widely available during the film's setting. The brakes were another compromise. While period-accurate hot rods typically had dangerous, barely adequate drum brakes, the production installed hidden disc brakes on the front wheels for safety during stunt driving sequences. The suspension received similar modern upgrades to handle the rigors of film production. These changes were carefully disguised. The art department created false components to hide modern elements and applied strategic aging to newer parts. For engine shots, they swapped in a period-correct engine block or used careful framing to hide the anachronistic details. Car enthusiasts who later attempted to build exact replicas of Milner's ride often found themselves confused by the apparent performance capabilities that seemed impossible with authentic 1962 components, not realizing they were chasing a carefully constructed fiction. Number 4. A near-fatal accident during filming changed the Paradise Road Race. The climactic Paradise Road Race sequence was dramatically altered following a near-fatal accident that occurred during early filming. Originally, Lucas planned a much longer, more complex race with multiple cars and elaborate driving choreography. During a practice run on the second day of shooting, the race sequence, a camera car lost control and collided with one of the picture vehicles. While no one was seriously injured, the accident destroyed one of the supporting hot rods and damaged essential camera equipment. More importantly, it severely shook the confidence of both cast and crew. Insurance representatives immediately descended on the production, threatening to shut down filming entirely. Lucas and his team hastily rewrote the sequence to focus primarily on just two vehicles, Milner's Deuce Coupe and Falfa's 1955 Chevy, with simpler driving maneuvers and fewer risky shots. The famous crash that ends the race was not in the original script. It was added partly in response to the real-life accident. The producers reasoned that showing consequences of dangerous driving would satisfy the insurance company's safety concerns while still delivering an exciting climax. Ironically, this simplified approach resulted in a more tense, character-focused race sequence that many film historians consider superior to Lucas's original, more technically ambitious plan. Number 3. The car's radiator cap sparked a decades-long trademark dispute. The distinctive ornamental radiator cap on Milner's Deuce Coupe, a small chrome skull, triggered a complex legal battle that dragged on for decades after the film's release. The skull cap was not part of the original car but was added by the art department to enhance the hot rod's menacing personality. Unknown to the production team, the design closely resembled a trademarked ornament from a custom car parts company called Deadhead Designs. When merchandising for the film began, including model kits of the famous car, Deadhead filed suit against Universal for trademark infringement. The studio countered that the similarity was coincidental and that their design was a generic skull, not a copy of the company's product. The case took an unexpected turn when investigators discovered that the prop master had indeed purchased the ornament from Deadhead, but had modified it slightly by adding small crossbones beneath the skull. This modification formed the basis of Universal's defense that they had created a derivative work. The legal proceedings continued intermittently until 1998, when a settlement was finally reached. The terms included a licensing agreement for official merchandise and an unusual stipulation. All future home video releases would include a barely noticeable text credit for skullcap, courtesy of Deadhead Designs, a credit that remains in the fine print of current digital releases. Number 2. Francis Ford Coppola crashed the Deuce Coupe into a camera. One of Hollywood's most acclaimed directors, Francis Ford Coppola, serving as a producer on American Graffiti, caused the single most expensive accident involving the Deuce Coupe during production. Coppola, visiting the set during the filming of cruising sequences, convinced Lucas to let him drive the hero car for a simple driving shot down Main Street. Despite warnings about the car's temperamental clutch, Coppola insisted he could handle it based on his experience with vintage vehicles. What happened next has become filmmaking legend. Coppola stalled the car repeatedly, then overcompensated with too much gas. The Deuce Coupe lurched forward, suddenly veering off its mark and directly into a Panavision camera setup, sending equipment worth over $50,000 in 1973 crashing to the pavement. Beyond the equipment damage, the accident left a noticeable dent in the car's front right fender. Rather than delay production for repairs, Lucas made the pragmatic decision to incorporate the damage into the story. If you watch closely, there's a throwaway line added in post-production where Milner mentions having a little fender bender last week, a direct reference to Coppola's mishap. The incident created tension between the two filmmaking legends, though they reconciled when Coppola personally covered the insurance deductible for the damaged equipment. Number 1. The car's engine note is hidden in Star Wars. The distinctive engine sound of Milner's Deuce Coupe made a secret cameo in a galaxy far, far away. George Lucas recycled the audio recording as a key sound effect in the original Star Wars. Sound designer Ben Burt, who worked on both films, had meticulously recorded the Deuce Coupe's engine at various RPMs during American Graffiti's production. 4 years later, while creating the sonic landscape for Star Wars, Burt was struggling to develop a unique sound for Luke Skywalker's X-34 Landspeeder. After experimenting with various synthesized options, Burt remembered the Deuce Coupe recordings. He combined the hot rod's deep idle with electronically processed air conditioner sounds and the whine from an old World War II generator to create the Landspeeder's distinctive hover effect. Lucas, upon hearing the composite, immediately recognized his beloved hot rod's contribution. He was so pleased with this connection between his films that he encouraged Burt to find other ways to incorporate American Graffiti sounds into the Star Wars universe. The Deuce Coupe's engine also makes a cameo during the Death Star trench run. Portions of its high RPM recording were mixed into the sound of X-Wing fighters at full throttle. This audio Easter egg remained undocumented until Burt revealed it during a film restoration panel in 2004, creating a hidden connection between Lucas's breakthrough film and his space opera masterpiece. Bonus fact: the true fate of the primary Deuce Coupe remained one of Hollywood's great automotive mysteries for over 2 decades. After production wrapped and the car was returned to its owner, it disappeared from public view entirely. Rumors abounded. Some claimed it was displayed in a private collection in Japan. Others insisted it had been destroyed in a garage fire. A persistent theory held that Lucas himself had purchased it secretly and kept it in storage. For years, replicas appeared at car shows claiming to be the original, but experts always identified discrepancies. The truth emerged in 1998 when a barn in Ukiah, California was being cleared following the owner's death. Under tarps and decades of dust sat the original Deuce Coupe, virtually untouched since 1974. Investigation revealed that the car had been sold to a reclusive collector who purchased it explicitly to preserve it from exploitation, believing the vehicle should be appreciated for its craftsmanship rather than its film connection. The car had been driven less than 300 miles since filming wrapped. Documentation found with the vehicle included the original Universal Studios rental agreement and maintenance logs from the production. Most surprisingly, the car contained a sealed letter from George Lucas to whoever finds this car in the future, explaining its significance to film history and requesting its preservation. Following authentication, the Deuce Coupe underwent a meticulous restoration and now resides in the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, finally taking its rightful place in both cinematic and automotive history. If you enjoyed these revelations about American Graffiti's most famous four-wheeled star, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments which iconic movie vehicle you want me to break down next. Until then, I will see you at the Paradise Road finish line.